Hello, world of YouTube. It is I, Tyler Ellison. Thank you guys for having me. Joined by the glorious, the wonderful starshine of the Sasani universe. We're thrilled to be here with you guys today. We're going to be diving into a Q and A session. And before we do that, Madam Starshine, how is everything flowing? How are you?
I'm doing very well on this planetary alignment. How are you doing, my friend?
Doing good, enjoying the energy. It is quite an interesting day, right? We have this alignment coupled with a new moon, right? So we think of the new moon as yin time. It's like fertile soil, great for planning new ideas. And when we think of alignment, what do we usually think of? Alignment with the divine, alignment with the chakras. And what does that look like? A straight line, right? One chakra is not necessarily all the way over here or pulled out of alignment over here, right? They're all aligned with one another. And it's like a tree extending up from the soil. So on this day, we get a double whammy activation. You get powerful yin grounding, nurturing, and we get this cosmic vertical alignment and planetary activation. So I appreciate you bringing the attention to that, Star, because the more we're tuned into these celestial moments, the more our telepathic cosmic connection is tuned like an instrument. So thanks for bringing this information. Thanks for being here with me. I'm thrilled to do some channeling with you and for the people today.
Same here. Good to see you again. And hi, everyone. We're looking forward to connecting again. As you guys know, we have another event coming up on Sunday, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, let's kick it off, my friend.
Sounds great. For this event, Ryokah will talk about it here. It's going to be Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this event is titled MARKAR-BALLAH, and it is a reference to the star Merkab, part of the constellation of Pegasus. So this is all about not just astral travel, but full energy body teleportation, bilocation, and multidimensional extension, right? Imagine from physical reality being able to extend yourself into any dimensional plane. These are the skills that allow for the Greys to make contact with us and the many other species, right? They're extending their minds, right? And the geometries that are the hexagonal geometry, sort of Star of David, six-pointed star, this has a big connection with that power. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Ryokah forth. He'll talk more about the upcoming event. And that, again, is going to be this Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we're looking forward to connecting with you guys there. And once he is done announcing the nature of this transmission, what you guys can anticipate for Sunday, we're going to have an opportunity for your questions to be taken. So Starshine is going to go through the YouTube chat and we'll be reviewing the questions submitted there and the questions that are the most interesting and are also the most collectively relevant. These are going to be questions that are selected, brought forth, and Ryokah will speak about them. So thanks, you guys, for tuning in. I'm going to go into the trance, and I'll see you when we're all finished today. Enjoy. Oh, we thank you all for joining us for this ecstatic co-creative interaction that we share with one another this here, this now, this day of your times. The upcoming transmission, MARKAR-BALLAH, is, as the channel described, a transmission all about the mastery of the transportation of your consciousness across different dimensions and across different densities. The skill sets that will be covered here are skill sets that are crucial in the developing of the telepathic link between yourself and star family and counterparts. This ability is also essential, therefore, in the unfolding of open contact, because as you know, we reach out telepathically. That's how we are having this communication with the channel before you. If we are able to do such things, and we are partially made in your likeness and your image, then this, of course, means you too are capable of such things. And when you interact with us, beings who are more telepathically developed, you as well, then through the mirror neuron effect, activate within yourself that own telepathic connection and power. Therefore, you too can extend your mind into my realm, into the realm of any multidimensional being that you desire to commune with. And as you practice a language, you become gradually fluent in that language, and think of telepathy in that way as a type of universal language. Remember that your words are simply symbols that you use to transmit meaning. Remember that symbols are multidimensional. You see a symbol in your mind before you see it outside of you. Yes, your alphabet was designed and brought outside of you. So these symbols that you develop, that you use to communicate and that you use to interpret reality, these symbols are communicating meaning. And when you learn how to use multidimensional symbols, the symbolism of spirit, when you learn to use the underlying intention, meaning, and energy behind your words, behind your symbols, you can then transmit intention and thought purely, instantaneously, from yourself to another through resonating with their frequency and then transmitting that thought as a vibrational pulse. This vibrational pulse synchronizes with their heart-brain connection. This heart-brain pulse works together to create what you would consider to be your auric pulse. So two electromagnetic fields of the heart and brain work together to create a pulse of your aura. When you synchronize with that pulse as it relates to another person, you enter in to their field through resonance, through that effect of, in a sense, taking on their image, their likeness, their similarity. Through taking this on, you resonate with them and you can transmit these ideas. So this is what the Greys are doing, partially to commune with all of you. You can do the same. This upcoming transmission will assist you all in being able to develop this kind of awareness, single-pointed focus, the extension of the mind across space, across time. And from here, the training in the telepathic contact. All of this and more we shall explore this Sunday. It is a very expansive transmission, so we are looking forward to communing with you all once more there. And for now, we make ourselves available to you for whatever questions you have prepared, whatever topics are of greatest interest to you collectively. Thank you, dear host, for having us.
Thank you so much. Definitely looking forward to Sunday. Sounds very exciting.
Oh, as are we.
Yes. So our first question is, what is the origin of homophobia and what is the purpose of homosexuality?
Well, there's many purposes to homosexuality and homosexual relations. There are functions to this that are naturalistic, that do serve an evolutionary purpose, and a psychological developmental purpose. Remember, all experiences grant you information that would otherwise be hidden from you, unknown from you. So these types of things that society in ancient times considered to be taboo, it considered these things to be taboo primarily because these types of relations can create a great deal of power. When two members of the same sex get together, it's like fire multiplying itself or water multiplying itself. And that type of energizing effect between the two people is capable of then attracting a greater entity, a greater spirit that can balance that polarity. So in higher occult practices and higher mystery school practices, this knowledge was utilized. And there are many rituals that involve same-sex relations. And that would be used to attract a higher spirit, usually of the opposite polarity. This, of course, can make the couple and the individuals and the spirit involved incredibly powerful. So as a result, this was one of the reasons why homosexuality and homosexual relations were suppressed. However, this is just one reason. There are also reasons that are related to the growth and the expansion of peoples and of nations. As you know, in ancient times, you did not have many of the technologies that you have. So fertilization, pregnancy, all of these things, they could really only happen through men and women coming together in love and creating life. So the earth during these days, as it related to the human experience, was very tribal. Nations conquering nations, people conquering people. If you don't have people having babies, you don't have soldiers, you don't have a workforce. While you're busy not having babies, your competition is. So the idea was at the time to ensure that as many forms of life as it relates to soul consciousness could be brought in through the many peoples being multiplied and created. So this idea of be fruitful and multiply ultimately allowed for not just different populations and groups of humanity to grow and prosper, but it also allowed for many different diverse frequencies of soul consciousness, many diverse soul personalities and minds to be able to incarnate through all of those different bodies there. So it allowed for a great deal of diversity in a certain sense, but because of the strong national identity, a great deal of that diversity was not able to be explored or expressed right away. However, those gifts that these souls brought in were then passed down through those lineages. So in a future date, in a future time, those energies could be explored. So in ancient times, there were many different reasons for why homosexuality was publicly condemned and criticized, but was also privately practiced and used. Does this answer the question sufficiently as you see it presented?
I would say so. That's very interesting for sure. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Up next, is there a difference between intuition and our inner knowing?
The idea is that intuition is like a symbol of the subconscious. It's like a symbol of the dream world that at times needs to be decoded. Now, the intuition might be a feeling. The intuition might come as a word. The intuition may come as a picture, a movie. It may come as a smell. As you can see, when these things show up, there is a level of interpretation and analysis that is needed. Now, that interpretation and analysis can appear instantaneous for some people. And for those people where the intuition produces instantaneous aha moments, that is a result of their inner knowingness, of their inner being. That quality that you call inner knowingness is a side effect of two things: the consistency of your aligned relationship with yourself and your willingness to expose yourself to diverse new experiences in life, because that's where you have to practice what you preach. That's where you gain real insight. That's where you gain real knowledge. Knowledge of other will produce knowledge of self. Knowledge of self will produce other. And you know self and other through relationship, through experience.
Okay, thank you.
Did that answer the question sufficiently? Is there more?
That was it. We can move on to the next, I think.
All right, let's continue.
So the next question is a little similar to the first one, but why has there historically been such abuse of Black people and the African continent, would you say?
There's many reasons for this. It has to do again with the suppression of certain peoples and certain groups that have the ability to bring forth a great deal of spiritual power. When you are working with the many expressions of the African genome, I'm speaking about the idea of the continent here. There's many different expressions of genome across this continent. When you're looking at all of these diverse expressions, there's one thing that is almost ubiquitously present, and that is a very potent connection and link to what you call founder consciousness. Within the African genome groups and within melanin itself, information is stored that relates to the human story. And as this information is decoded, as this information is energized with light, remembering takes place. From Africa, which oftentimes is described as a cradle, a type of Eden, there are Mother Earth chakras. When awakenings take place amongst the peoples whom are connected to these Mother Earth chakras, those energies of awakening can broadcast out across the whole planet. It can create very powerful awakenings, and it can also create very potent readjustments in the energy quality. So if there are energies, karmas, if you will, that aren't balanced, the energy pulse from the Earth Mother chakras can create this readjusting. And there are many people holding on to power. There are many people holding on to certain structures of power that are quite old and that are based to certain degrees on certain oppressive principles. Now, this does not mean that all of these things are inherently oppressive across the board, but these types of structures of power, many of them have been created and have been energized at the expense of certain groups. And many of the groups from Africa specifically were suppressed. So that way, certain awakening processes would be suppressed, which allows for such power structures to maintain relevance. So this is one of the reasons for this.
Okay, thank you.
If you can control a people that have such a connection, you can theoretically, through them, control the earth. Does this make sense?
Yes. So have the Anunnaki also had bases in Africa, and could
Oh,
we still
yes. It's one
find
of the
remnants?
major locations. Africa, Northern Africa, Eastern Africa, the Middle East, these areas. These are where the major hubs were. Other hubs began to pop up. And when I say hubs, I mean creational hubs, Gardens of Eden specifically. Others began to pop up from here into more Asian locations, more Asian continental territories as you understand and categorize today. So from the Middle East, the experimentations were pushed outwardly towards Africa, outwardly towards Asia, like a pulse, you see. So both were involved.
Are we going to be able to find remnants of the mining operations?
You already have. It's just that this stuff is not disclosed publicly. But yes, you have already found powerful, very expansive underground ancient temples, ancient structures. Now, some of the mining operations, you have to keep in mind, have had collapses that have taken place that obfuscate their presence, but nevertheless, you're still able to find ancient tools. And many ancient tools have you found. But they only show you the ones that are the greatest in physicality, pickaxes and things that predate your civilizations. But there are others that have been found that relate to essentially properties that are indistinguishable from magic if you were to see them applied through the tool.
Very interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Up next, how can we best protect ourselves from psychic attacks?
By creating positive effects where you go. If someone's attacking you, it's not for random purposes. Someone may be attacking you because you have wronged them. Someone may be attacking you because perhaps there is a connection that is related to another lifetime where certain energies were not balanced. So in this lifetime, for whatever reason, they put you in the crosshairs. Whenever there's a psychic attack, do not go into, I am the victim. I have nothing to do with the attack mentality. No, you must take responsibility. For some reason, you have attracted this attention. It might be to empower you to learn how to protect yourself, how to avoid such situations. That might be why it has been called forth. It might be so you can actually present a healing energy and balance that karma. It may even be so you can transform the relationship so that attacker becomes your friend. There's all types of reasons why psychic attack is explored as a theme by both parties. You must remember this because both are God. If God is truly what you say God is, omnipotent, then that means that even though the egos of both people involved may not be aware of all of the intricacies, the foundation of both parties involved, the shared God consciousness is. It is one being doing that harm unto itself through two people. So both are involved. You must see this. If you do not, you will not solve the equation that brings in the psychic attack in the first place. And you will find that psychic attacks seem to follow you. You have psychic beef wherever you go. A great deal of psychic attack, and this is something many people do not enjoy hearing, but nonetheless it must be said, a great deal of psychic attack is a person's own aura turned against them. If you buy into the mentality, I'm under attack, this world is hostile, people are hostile, your aura, because it shares energy with others, will become those things. Because as you define others, you also define yourself. So your own aura can actually be the result of what appears to be the psychic attack coming from another. Remember, you have never felt anything outside of your own nervous system. While you've been here on Earth, all perceptions have been had through your nervous system. So you've never perceived the energy of another. You have perceived your version, your sensing of the other's energy. Therefore, what is needed ultimately is to create simultaneously two abilities. The first one, the ability to neutrally observe what's going on without entanglement. Just see things clearly. No labels, no beliefs, no definitions, no nothing. Just look at things as they are. That's the first ability. The second ability, to choose your preferred state of being and to make it full body, make it structured, and make it unwavering. Holding these two things as a single point of focus will achieve the following. It will allow for you to perceive the negative energy of the other, whatever form it may come, and it will also allow for you to see the positive energy of the other, as well as the neutral energy, whatever they present. It will help you to see it very clearly, very purely, and it will also simultaneously empower you to be in the state of being you need to be and that you prefer to be in a way that cannot be moved, in a way that cannot be shaken. The psychic attack can only take if you resonate with the energy of the attack. But if you are totally dialed into your preferred frequency, whilst also observing clearly what's going on, pay attention to that word, clearly. It is the clear light you're accessing here, the highest form of light. When you see it neutrally, when you see it clearly, you also transform whatever is misaligned just through that view, that is the neutral view, but you also give yourself the space to really see what's going on. Maybe they're not attacking you. Maybe they are simply presenting a negative emotion that bothers you a little bit, so it feels like an attack. Maybe they are not attacking you with energy, but they're being passive aggressive. And you can't exactly feel how you're being attacked. So it feels like it might be psychic, but really it's just their words getting under your skin because of the way they're being said. When you actually see things neutrally, you can see what you're dealing with. But if you remain in the realm of, I'm a victim, I'm being psychically attacked, I can't see my attacker, where's it coming from? Anyone could technically be an attacker because everyone's awakening, everyone's a little psychic. Therefore, you have the permission to be a victim in many situations. So perhaps you are a very empowered person. Perhaps there are others here whom deal with victim mentality, whom we're speaking directly to. Let yourself hold that neutral awareness and let yourself hold that state of being you prefer, and you will become almost naturally resistant to just about any psychic attack as you become more skillful in this. Because again, it's about resonating with your preference, not the energy state of the attack or the attacker.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
So, a lot of people are asking about the ant people that the Hopi tribe mentioned. Can you speak on that?
Well, you have to keep in mind that when you are hearing some of these terms, ant people, bird people, mantis people, what you notice is these are earth terms. These are terms that are meant to make something that is multidimensional, something that would otherwise be slightly unexplainable, to be now tangible. These terms are human symbols that make extraterrestrial form, multidimensional form, and consciousness more understandable to the masses. So you have to remember the following. There are many layers to your earth, many rings of earth. Think of those Russian stacking dolls that many of you have seen perhaps in the home of a grandmother. One doll nestled into another doll, into another doll, into another doll. This is how the different parallel earths operate, an earth within an earth within an earth. Think of it like this. Within the aura of one earth, within the atmosphere of one earth, within the sky of one earth, you have portals that bring you to a higher version of earth. If you were to drill into your planet, into your physicality, you would eventually move through portals that bring you to another earth that is lower in vibration. So think of these many parallel versions of earth as earths within earths within earths within earths within earths. So the beings that you call the ant people, they are extraterrestrial in nature. They come from a version of Earth that is much more ancient. They come from a version of your species story that is much more ancient. They are extraterrestrial, but their access point to your species is your species' ancient past. When they enter in to your reality, to your species' collective version of Earth, you oftentimes perceive them as coming up from below. You perceive them as rising from your oceans, rising from the mountains, rising from the canyons. But that is because there are portals in these locations that these extraterrestrials are able to use to access your version of Earth. So the Greys, in which you call the ant people, specifically have a very deeply entangled relationship. And they have a strong connection to underground facilities, underground bases, what you would call earlier iterations of the Garden of Eden, these original creational hubs and stations.
Okay, thank you. What is the frequency of the grays roughly?
So it depends on the version of them. Remember, you have many offshoots of gray consciousness. So there are some grays that hybridized themselves for reasons of efficiency. In other words, through some of their genetic alterations, they were able to obtain things like higher focus, higher concentration, greater states of love, greater states of blissfulness. They kept the modifications to a minimum. As a result, the modifications they made served and supported their natural blueprint. So they were able to go through ascensions. They were able to go through evolutions. Their alterations brought them into a higher expression of self. There are other groups whom really, really explored all of the intricate ins and outs of how they could modify themselves, changing one feature and then changing it back, changing things that are deeply connected to the foundation of the being's structure and consciousness, and then changing it back through the radical experimentation, through the radical manipulation of the genome. A type of elasticity was broken genetically. The genome almost lost its ability to return to a normalized, structured baseline. It was as if the very baseline of the genome energetically was mercurial. This allowed for a few things. It allowed for the being's consciousness and DNA to almost become like a living shapeshifter. At the same time, certain spiritual connections were diminished greatly because the DNA was no longer capable of aligning with its original baseline. Its original baseline transformed into an ever-shifting mercurial energy signature. So this caused the essence, the intelligence of Mercury to become multiplied in these offshoot groups. Their intellect became incredibly brilliant. Their capabilities, their technologies became miraculous. Yet they became sterile over time. And their spiritual connection diminished. So not only were some of these groups dying out, but their ability to access the purification portals that would allow for a reunion with the Oversoul and the experience of a future incarnation, that gateway was now impaired. And this is, of course, the purpose of the hybridization program. So those gray consciousnesses can be transferred. That's one point, one purpose. There's many points and purposes. These things are multifaceted, but that is one. It's so the beings, the souls that are these offshoot groups can live on. So those groups, they are in the lower frequency. They are approximately 60,000 to about 200,000 at the higher end, because some of these groups have been able to, through deep relationship with higher beings, the mantis beings and the beings of Sirius, they've been able to temporarily stabilize that mercurial shifting DNA matrix. Therefore, they've been able to climb that ladder. They've been able to do that through the support and connection that they have with some of these other groups, some of them more ancient, some of them more ascended in their quality. So many of the grays that are of that offshoot branch, that ultra hybridization branch, their vibration is lower. Certain members from those groups have been able to obtain a higher vibration through the help of their higher dimensional allies. You have some beings that you call gray. They're a part of that same timeline, but before those radical applications of the hybridization technology was used, they simply used it to improve a few things that helped them remain focused. And of course, you have versions of humanity that didn't use it at all. Multiple levels of application and ascension. But that's a little bit of their story, some new insights into it, and also why there is so much variation in their vibrational quality.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
So I think that's all we have time for today.
All right. We thank you for these questions. We thank all of you for coming and for attending. We look forward to interacting with you this Sunday for MARKAR-BALLAH and our unconditional love to you now and always. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I hope you all had a wonderful time. And of course, thank you, Starshine, for hosting. You got some great questions in there. I liked the ones at the end. I know that is a hot topic right now. So thank you for bringing the wonderful query.
Of course, good to see you guys all. Thanks for your questions. They were great. We can't get to them all, of course, unfortunately, but yeah, we'll see you next time for more. So.
Excellent.